Have you ever heard of a man who escaped prison? Not once, not twice, but 4 times. Not just any prisons, but Japan's most secure, most feared institutions designed to be escape-proof. One of them was so cold that prisoners' soup would freeze before they could even eat it. Another was built with smooth copper walls to stop even the most skilled climbers. And yet, one man slipped through them all. His name was Yoshie Shiratori, a name almost no one in the West has heard. But in Japan, he's a legend. Some call him a criminal, others, a genius. But one thing is certain: no one in history outsmarted Japan's prison system like he did. This isn't fiction. This isn't a movie. This really happened. And the methods he used? Lock-picking with bathhouse wire, melting handcuffs with miso soup, and even dislocating his joints just to squeeze through impossible gaps. But why did he escape? Was he just a trickster trying to prove a point? Or was it something deeper, a fight against injustice, abuse, and a broken system that had failed him? In this video, we follow the real-life story of Japan's greatest escape artist. From false imprisonment to national infamy. And we begin where it all started. Section 1: The man Japan couldn't hold. Who was Yoshie Shiratori? What would you do if you were locked away for a crime you didn't commit? In a country as orderly and rule-bound as Japan, how could one man escape again and again? His name was Yoshie Shiratori. And his story is unlike anything you've heard. He wasn't a trained spy. He wasn't a soldier or a genius engineer. He was just a man. A man who had been pushed to the edge. A man who had lost everything: his job, his family, his dignity. And worst of all, his freedom. In 1936, he was falsely accused of murder. He was interrogated for days. He was beaten, starved, and tortured until he confessed. He never even met the victim. But none of that mattered. He was sent to prison in Aomori, a freezing facility in the far north of Japan. A place where even survival was a struggle. Most prisoners would have broken. Most would have given up hope. But not Shiratori. He didn't scream. He didn't cry. He watched. He studied every guard, every patrol schedule, every crack in the wall. And deep down, he made a promise. I will not die in here. Now here's the question for you. In your country, how would people respond to injustice like this? Would they protest? Would they sue? In Japan, Shiratori didn't have that luxury. So he turned to the only thing he had left: his mind. What followed would turn him into a legend. Not just a prisoner, but an escape artist. A symbol of resistance. And a man the Japanese justice system could never quite hold down. Let's go back to where it all began. To the first prison. The first night. The first escape. Section 2: Escape Number 1: Outsmarting Aomori with a wire and a fake body. Aomori Prison, Northern Japan. Winter, 1936. The cold cut through bone. The cells were like refrigerators. And hope? That froze too. But for Yoshie Shiratori, hope took a strange form. A metal ring. Nothing more than the steel band from a bathing bucket. He'd found it in the prison bathhouse and hidden it for months. Every night, he watched. He studied guard movements. He timed their steps, their conversations, their smoke breaks. And finally, he found a 15-minute gap. 15 minutes. That was all he needed. At exactly 5:30 a.m., he moved. He pulled the wire from beneath the floorboards. His hands were shaking from the cold. But after a few tries, click, the lock opened. He slid out silently. But more doors stood in his way. He raced against time, picked each lock like a man possessed. And somehow, he made it out, outside the prison walls, free. But freedom is a funny thing. It doesn't mean much if you get caught. So Shiratori did one more thing. Something brilliant, something almost childish. He arranged floorboards under his futon, shaped them like a sleeping body, then pulled the blanket over them. At 5:45, the guards looked into his cell. And they saw what they thought was him, still sleeping. It wasn't until the next morning that they realized he was gone. 3 days later, he was captured stealing from a hospital. His escape had lasted only 72 hours. But it changed everything. Because now, the guards knew. This man wasn't ordinary, and the system they believed was escape-proof had just failed its first real test. Section 3 Escape Number 2 The copper walls of Akita prison couldn't stop him. You escaped once. They caught you. Now they want to make an example of you. So they send you to Akita prison. A place not just built to punish but to crush the human spirit. This time, they weren't taking chances. They threw Shiratori into solitary confinement. A custom-made cell, with walls lined in smooth copper. No grip, no footholds, just freezing air and silence. There was no sunlight, just a faint glow from a sealed skylight above. And yes, they kept him handcuffed. Day and night, even while he slept. It was hell, but not without a sliver of humanity. One-man head guard Kobayashi treated him differently. He never laid a hand on Shiratori. Sometimes, he even brought him food, and asked if he was okay. For a prisoner used to pain, that small act of kindness mattered. Maybe it kept his hope alive. And so, once again, Shiratori waited, watched, planned. He found a tiny piece of wire. Maybe from something Kobayashi had brought in. We don't know, but he used it to pick the cuffs. Then he climbed the wall. Yes, the smooth copper wall. Palms, soles, pressure, timing. Like a gecko, he scaled the vertical surface. Every night, bit by bit, he loosened the rotting skylight frame. And after weeks of patient work one stormy night he vanished. Gone. The cuffs were left behind on the floor. The guards were stunned. How could a man escape that cell? 3 months later, Shiratori returned. Not as a prisoner, but as a man with a plan. He visited Kobayashi at home and begged for help. He didn't want to run anymore. He wanted to speak to the Justice Department. To tell the world how broken the prison system was. Kobayashi listened, then called the police. Section 4 The officer he trusted and the betrayal that changed everything. He didn't have to come back. He had escaped. He was free. But 3 months after his second escape, Yoshie Shiratori did something no one expected. He knocked on a guard's front door. It wasn't just any guard. It was Kobayashi, the only man who had shown him kindness. The only one who hadn't used fists or boots to communicate. Kobayashi had treated him like a person. And that, for a prisoner, meant everything. So why did Shiratori return? He wasn't looking for mercy. He wasn't even looking for forgiveness. What he wanted was justice. Not just for himself, but for every prisoner who had been beaten, starved, and forgotten. He had a plan. He wanted Kobayashi to help him reach the Justice Department. He wanted to speak, not run. He wanted to expose the truth. To show the public how inhumane the prison system really was. He was tired of escaping. Tired of being hunted. He didn't want to survive anymore. He wanted to fight with words, not wire. And he believed Kobayashi could help him. But while Shiratori was in the bathroom, Kobayashi made a phone call to the police. When the officers arrived, he didn't resist. He knew what had happened. And something inside him broke. This was the last time he would ever trust a man in uniform. That moment changed him. From now on, there would be no more conversations. No more plans for reform. Only one goal remained: escape, survive, and never trust again. Because in a world where even kindness could be a trap, Shiratori realized freedom was never going to be given. It would have to be taken. Section 5 Escape Number 3 Frozen in chains at Abashiri. He used miso soup to melt steel. Abashiri prison. The coldest, cruelest place in all of Japan. A place where even miso soup would freeze before you could drink it. This is where they sent him next. After 2 escapes, the government had had enough. This time, they weren't just locking him up. They were trying to break him. They threw Shiratori into an open cell. No heating. Thin prison clothes. Heavy iron cuffs 20 kilograms each. Locked on his wrists and ankles. And not just any cuffs. These had no keyholes. Only 2 specialists in the entire region could remove them. And only once every few weeks. His wounds festered. Maggots bred under the metal. He was half-starved, barely able to move. But still he watched. He thought. He waited. Then miso soup. Every day, the guards would slide a tray under the door. Rice, pickles, and soup. Shiratori began saving a few drops of miso. Why? Because salt corrodes iron. Every night, he hobbled to the bars. He dabbed the soup onto the screws. Just a little. Again. And again. And again. Weeks passed. And finally, one screw gave way. Then another. He used the first screw like a makeshift tool, loosening the cuffs, the bolts, even the steel frame on the window. But the opening was too small. No man could fit through it. But Shiratori wasn't like other men. He dislocated his shoulders, collapsed his own chest, and slid through the bars like a snake. Outside was snow, darkness, freedom. Abashiri had never been escaped before. But now, its record was broken. And once again, the man they couldn't hold was gone. Section 6, Escape Number 4. When everyone looked up, he dug down. How do different cultures think about security? In your country, when something fails, do you overreact or overcorrect? Because after 3 escapes, Japan overcorrected completely. This time, Shiratori was sent to Sapporo prison. Not just any cell, it was death row. 6 armed guards were assigned to him. 24-hour surveillance. Every ceiling, skylight, window reinforced. And they made one fatal mistake. They looked only where he had escaped before. From day one, Shiratori played the role. He stared at the ceiling. He acted suspicious. He made the guards paranoid. They kept watching the top of the room. But they never thought to check the bottom. Because while they were watching from above, Shiratori was digging below, underneath the tatami mat, night after night, spoon by spoon, using whatever scrap he could find, and covering it back each morning with his futon. He wasn't in a rush. He knew patience better than anyone. And this time, he wasn't escaping for justice. He wasn't escaping for attention. He was escaping because he was done trusting. Weeks passed. The guards grew more confident. And one morning, they got careless. They shouted at him to wake up. No movement. They entered the cell, lifted the blanket, and found nothing but folded clothes. And a hole. Once again, Shiratori had disappeared. No violence, no resistance, just silence, patience, and genius. Now let me ask you this. If you were the prison guard, would you have looked up? Or looked down? Because sometimes, the smartest man in the room isn't the one who talks the most, but the one digging quietly, where no one bothers to look. Section 7, The Wild Years. Hiding from the world in the mountains of Hokkaido. No man had ever escaped 4 times. And now, no one had any idea where he was. The guards assumed he had died in the cold, or been eaten by bears. And for a while they were almost right, because after escaping from Sapporo prison, Yoshie Shiratori disappeared completely. No sightings, no clues, just gone. Where did he go? Into the mountains, into the wild, into a forgotten world of snow, silence, and survival. There, he found an abandoned mine. Dark, damp, hidden by trees. And inside, he made it home. No electricity, no firewood, no help, just a man, alone with nothing but instinct. So he watched, and he learned. He learned how rabbits move, how raccoons search, how bears catch crabs in the stream. And he copied them. He drank from melted snow, ate berries, roots, small animals. He didn't complain. He didn't cry. He just endured. 2 years passed, and not a single human found him. But Shiratori began to wonder. Had Japan changed? Was the war still going? Was he still being hunted? So, slowly, carefully, he came down from the mountain. And when he reached the edge of a village, what he saw was unthinkable. English signs, American flags, Japanese girls holding hands with U.S. soldiers. His mind froze. What had happened? He grabbed an old newspaper and finally saw the truth. The war was over. Japan had surrendered. The world had changed while he was gone. But had he changed, too? Shiratori knew he couldn't live like a ghost forever. He couldn't hide in the wild. Not anymore. It was time to return. But return to what? Section 8, a tomato, a mistake, and a death sentence. 50 days. That's how long it took Shiratori to walk from the mountains of Hokkaido to the city of Sapporo. No food, no shelter, just snow, pain, and exhaustion. He was weak, starving, but finally civilization. He found a small farm on the edge of the city. And there, hanging on a vine was a tomato. Red, ripe, beautiful. He picked it. Just one. But someone saw him. The farmer startled, angry thought he was a thief. They struggled. Voices were raised. And somehow the farmer fell. A blade pierced his abdomen. He bled out and died. Shiratori was arrested on the spot. He told the police it was self-defense. He didn't mean to kill. He didn't even want to fight. But it didn't matter. This wasn't just any man. This was the fugitive who had escaped 4 times. To the court, he wasn't a man anymore. He was a symbol, an embarrassment to the justice system. And now they had a reason to silence him forever. He was found guilty, sentenced to death, and transferred to Sapporo prison once again. But this time, not as a prisoner, as a man waiting to die. His cell was a fortress. Reinforced windows. No gaps. No holes. Not even a crack big enough for a mouse. 6 armed guards watched him 24 hours a day. And this time, everyone believed it was truly over. But what they forgot was that the most dangerous man isn't the one who runs. It's the one who has nothing left to lose. Section 9, the final escape. When everyone looked up, he dug down. They thought they'd won. 6 armed guards. A fortress of steel and concrete. No keys. No tools. No chance. But from the moment Shiratori entered that death row cell, he was already thinking of escape. Not out of hope. Not even out of pride. Just because it was who he was. And he knew one thing. Everyone was watching the ceiling. So he played along. He stared at the skylight. He acted suspicious. He fed their fear. And while their eyes were fixed above, he went below. Every night, while the guards grew bored, he dug, spoon by spoon, using bits of metal, chopsticks, even the bowl from his miso soup. Underneath the floorboards, silently, patiently, and every morning, he laid the boards back in place, folded his futon, pretended to sleep. The guards thought they were winning. They didn't realize the real escape had already begun. Weeks passed. Winter came. His strength faded, but the hole grew deeper. And then, one morning, they entered the cell. Wake up. No response. They pulled back the blanket and found nothing but his clothes and a gaping hole in the floor. He was gone. Again, the prison erupted in panic. The guards were humiliated, and Japan's justice system had failed one last time. Because once again, the man with no weapons, no allies, and nothing left to lose, had vanished into the wind. And he did it not by force, but by silence, by patience, by being underestimated. Sometimes the most powerful move is the quietest one. Section 10, Peace at Last, Parole, Redemption, and a Legend's Legacy. In the end, he gave himself up, not because he was weak, but because he finally met someone kind. A stranger, a police officer, just a man with a cigarette. After all the pain, all the betrayals, all the blood and concrete, someone offered him a cigarette. Not as a trap, not as a trick, just as a human. And for the first time in his life, Yoshie Shiratori cried. He said his name out loud, told his story, and didn't run. The system that once wanted him dead suddenly listened. The court ruled that the farmer's death was self-defense. His death sentence was overturned, and he was sent to his Requesto Fuchu prison in Tokyo. There, the guards treated him with respect. No torture, no shackles, just walls and time. And for once, he didn't try to escape, because there was no need. He served his sentence quietly, became a model prisoner, and in 1961, he was granted parole. He walked out not as a fugitive, but as a man. he returned to Aomori where it all began. And there, he reunited with his daughter, the only family he had left. He lived the rest of his life in peace. Never escaped again. Never needed to. In Japan, he became a legend. Not just for his escapes, but for what he endured. His story isn't about crime. It's about survival, about resistance, about how one man, when pushed beyond the edge, didn't break, he adapted. And in the end, he didn't just escape prison. He escaped the system that tried to erase him. Cultural habits like this may seem small, but they reflect big ideas. How does your culture compare? Let's share and learn from each other. Leave a comment if you'd like. And please like and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.